Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing yoga for tight calves. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so that you don't miss a single video that I post weekly. Today we're going to be doing a nice, easy, seated series for the calves and how to loosen up the calves. All you're going to need is a yoga block and a ball, something like a tennis ball size, but ideally something that has a little bit more firmness to it, like a lacrosse ball or a yoga tune-up ball. Okay, so if you're ready, let's get started. Let's start off this class in downward dog. So your hands are rooted firmly into the mat, your shoulders are slightly externally rotated. You're sending your hips up as high as you can and you're sending your heels down towards the mat. And now bend your knees and straighten your knees. Bend your knees and straighten. So every time you straighten your knees, I want you to feel a stretch all the way through the hamstrings, the calves, the glutes, the heels. One more time. Good. And then go ahead and pedal out your feet here. And we're just exploring what our calves feel like in this moment before really getting into anything. All right, so we're going to turn over on the feet. So bend your knee and roll over your toes and press through the top of your foot. If you feel anything painful here, you can avoid the rolling over the toes part and just kind of skip to pressing along the top of the foot. But assuming this is all feeling okay, go ahead and switch legs. I want you to really feel how the ankle flexes, the midfoot flexes, and the toes flex. Good, another one here. And we'll come to downward dog just for a moment here. And then we're going to bend our knees and then push up, almost like we were going to do a little jump or a spring off the ground. But instead of jumping, we're just coming to the toes and pushing through the calves. Very nice. One more. Take one more breath here in downward dog. And then we're going to come to seated and we're going to grab our ball and our block. For this next move, let's start with the ball on top of the block underneath our right calf. So the idea here is that you're going to start moving around and rolling on your calf a little bit just until you find a tight spot or a tender spot. And so once you find that spot, and I'm having to search a little bit here, sometimes it's not always obvious right up front. Once you find your spot, you're just going to let the ball sink in and take a little bit of pressure and take a few deep breaths. Once you've found that spot and you've gotten comfortable with the pressure there, you can also add in a little bit of dorsiflexion and a little bit of plantar flexion. So you're tacking that tissue down by having the ball push the pressure into the leg, and then you're moving your foot and ankle through a range of motion. And so this is going to help break down some of the tightness in your calf muscle. And after spending about 20 to 30 seconds on one spot, when you feel like it's loosened up a little bit, that would be an appropriate time to move on and find the next tight spot. So again, you may need to search a little bit until you find a spot, or you may put the ball in a certain spot and be like, oh my goodness, we are already on that spot, that is where I want the pressure. And a note here about having pressure on the hands, if this feels like too much on your wrists, you can always sit with your back to a wall, and that way you don't need to have any pressure through your hands. If you want more pressure on your calf, you're going to use your opposite foot to just weight your working leg down. Let's go ahead and switch positions here. So we're going to have our outer shin on top of the block, and the ball is on top of the block. We're working into the tibialis anterior muscle here. And this one tends to have a lot of trigger points and tight points in it, especially if you're a runner or a walker. So we've already found a spot here, and I'm starting to add in a little bit of foot motion. So we're dorsiflexion, plantar flexing, dorsiflexing, plantar flexing, just to really tack things down. And if you're still on a spot that is working well for you, you can stay on that spot, or you can search for a new spot. And then the technique that I'm showing you here is called peeling the muscle off the bone. Now we're obviously not really peeling the muscle off the bone, But that's what it feels like. So we're starting the ball right along that shin bone, and then we're pushing down into the block to almost pull the muscle off of the bone. We're going to do something similar with the inner shin here. So we're on the inner calf muscle. We've got our leg on top of the block. And so we're getting into some of those deep calf flexors here, and these can be pretty tender. Once you've found your spot, lock it down and start to add a little bit of that ankle motion in. And again, if you want more pressure, you can push in with your hands, or you could put a weighted object on top of your leg. You want to make sure that your calf muscles feel relaxed here, even though it can feel a little bit uncomfortable. You still want the muscle to be relaxed and not tensing up against that pressure. Similarly, you want to keep your breath relaxed. If you feel like you're holding your breath and you're just bearing this, you need to back off on pressure and then find a more appropriate place of pressure. All right, so stretch things out, move your foot around a little bit, see how it feels after that work. And then we're going to switch over to the other side. So similar idea here. You're going to roll, roll, roll until you find what feels like the tightest spot to start. And then you're going to take a few deep breaths here and just get used to the pressure. And optional motion here. Sometimes that feels good, and sometimes it feels like it's just going to slide the ball right out from under you. So this will have to be personal preference. But I sometimes find if you can weight down that leg with your opposite foot or with your hands, that can kind of lock the ball in place a little bit more and allow you to add a bit more motion. So maybe it's time for you to search out another spot. Maybe you're still on that first spot. Spend a few moments here getting into the tightest parts of your calf. And see if there's any other parts of your body that are holding tension that don't need to be holding tension. Maybe your jaw is clenched. Maybe your eyes are really squinting to focus in on the discomfort. See if you can let some of that go. Okay, and if we're done exploring the meat of the calf, we're going to switch the position of the block and the ball to get into the outer calf. And same technique as before, you can apply as much or as little pressure as you want on this one. And we're just scouring around looking for any tight spots in there that are wanting the pressure. I'm doing a little bit of that peeling the muscle off the bone technique here. But if you found a spot that feels just great and you want to stay on that spot for up to a minute, that works just as well. So if you're done exploring the outer calf, let's move on to the inner calf. And you can get pretty deep here, so make sure that you're staying relaxed and only going with as much pressure as feels appropriate. Notice maybe you're backing off on pressure if something is feeling like you're just holding on and gritting your teeth. Or maybe you're adding a little bit more pressure on some spots that feel like they've relaxed a little bit and are now able to handle a bit more pressure. And you can work this inner calf all the way down near the inner ankle bone. There's still muscle and tendon that attaches down there. All right, is that feeling pretty good? I know my calves are feeling a little bit better after that. So let's just do one more downward dog here just to notice the difference that we've created. And take a breath here, in and out. Yeah, just like we started the class with, go ahead and pedal your feet in and out. Bend your knees and then send your hips high a few times here. How does it feel? Does one leg feel a lot tighter, a lot looser than the other? Are you feeling like both legs are feeling looser than they started with? Let me know in the comment section how you are feeling with this. You can also start to push up onto the toes, just activate those calves a little bit. Go ahead and grab your yoga block for this next part. Step your foot onto the block, and then you're going to start driving your knee forward over your outer pinky toe. Go ahead and move in and out of this movement, shifting your hips forward and back. And then if it feels like too much of a stretch for that back hip, you can reposition your back leg a little bit further forward. So coming back into this, you can use your hands to give a little bit of an additional pressure to get a little bit further into that motion. But this should feel good. So if you feel any pinching in that front knee, you can put a rolled up towel in the crook of your knee and it should feel more comfortable. And then I'm also showing a different position here, just in case it feels like too much stretch for that back leg. You can just come up into kind of like a half squat and then still get this motion going. And let's switch sides here. The idea is we're just getting that ankle joint moving a little bit better by moving in and out of ankle flexion and ankle extension. And so as you're doing this, really point your knee towards the outside of your foot so you're not letting your knee cave in. And also you want to keep your heel as close to the ground or to the block as possible. And I'm showing you here to drive your knee outward and not let it cave inward. Good. Hold a little bit of tension here. You can kind of work in and out of that range of motion. Maybe a little bit of rocking here might feel nice. Let's move back into that downward dog that we started with in this class. And then just move around a little bit and notice the difference between now and when we started. Go ahead and pedal your feet out a little bit here. Just notice any differences that you've created so far. Good. Now start to lift your hips up high as you press through your toes. You should feel your calves engaging here. Couple more big lift up and come back down. Okay, good. Sweep your right leg up. And I'm out of the frame and you can't see what I'm doing here. My knee is basically just bent, but I'm pressing evenly through both my hands into the mat and feeling a nice stretch through the back of my left calf. And come back down. We're going to do the same thing. Other leg. Inhale, sweep that left leg up. You can bend your top knee and then send your other heel towards the ground. And it may not ever hit the ground, but the goal here is just to keep stretching towards the ground. Nice. Come on back to downward dog. Pedal your feet out a few more times. Feel that nice stretch in the back of the hamstrings, back of the calves. Step your right foot forward. And we're just going to stay here. We're not going to come up into any standing poses right now. We're just feeling the quadricep of the back leg squeezed firmly and the heel reaching for the ground. We're going to step back to downward dog, and then we're going to send our left foot forward. Again, nice grounding through both feet here. One more breath. And on your exhale, come on back to downward dog. Send your hips high, reach your heels for the mat. Nice. Another breath in and out and come to seated. Very good. Okay, I hope your calves feel a little bit looser after watching this video. If you like the video, go ahead and smash that like button. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you can do so over here. And if you'd like to see more videos about yoga and healthy movement, you can click over here. All right, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.